Bueno. Fecha atrás.
Cocaine seizures have been rising across Europe for years. Long coastlines and hundreds of ports are all gateways for the drug.
It's a global market. They will move where they feel the need to increase their presence or to develop their business to improve their results.
The drug traffickers are resourceful. Portugal and Spain, in particular, are under pressure.
Siempre parece que los narcos y los malos están un paso por delante de nosotros. Tienen muchísimo más dinero que nosotros.
What can Europe do to counter the influx of drugs? A Spanish customs patrol boat is preparing to depart.
¿Está ligera en proa? No. ¿Está ligera o sí? Vale, embrago, ¿vale? Vale, largamos.
Their departure does not go unnoticed.
They are controlling us all the time. You see the bridge, we always go out over there, and there are people watching us and say the boat is outside. They are controlling where we are, so it's difficult.
In the Bay of Algeciras, customs investigators regularly have to deal with smuggling. Tobacco arrives at night from Gibraltar, and Moroccan hashish has been smuggled across the strait for years. Customs investigators watch for any suspicious movement on the water.
We have the boats with ice. Big boat have a mark that we can see the speed, if they are stopped or are navigating in this moment. But the small boats, they don't have this system. We have to check this way. We have 3 possible echo. This could be a boat navigating without lights. Could be a legal boat. And we park. And the radar give us, well, it's navigating 11 knots. But we have to check.
On the way back to the port, they receive a suspicious signal.
Dirección Cardinal Playa. Salen ahí 2 ecos. A las 11.
Yo limpio, no hay nada.
Vale. Vámonos.
For the past few years, they found more than just hashish and tobacco on boats here.
2 years and a half, we catch a narco lancha in the beach, and we think it was hashish. And when we take the people and we could see it was cocaine, 429 kilograms of cocaine.
When customs investigators seize a drug boat, it ends up here at their naval base. At times, there were so many, they didn't know where to put them all. The port of Algeciras lies on the Strait of Gibraltar, a key trading port between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. One of Spain's largest cargo hubs. It handles more than 4 million containers annually, with several thousand arriving from South America each month. Customs investigators regularly make large drug seizures here. 2024 saw Spain's largest cocaine seizure to date, 13 tons in a container from Ecuador, one of the largest shipments worldwide. Lizardo Capote is head of customs investigations at Algeciras. He's making his way around the port, where one of his units is scanning freight containers.
Esto es lo peor que se moje, ¿vale? Que aquí están las cámaras y los sensores.
Y entonces, ¿qué dice? ¿Que se quede aquí?
Claro, pero porque es poniente. Cuando
Pero
sea levante,
para adelante.
y que el levante es peor, porque ahora mismo sale algo volando y va en dirección contraria a la oficina. Lo peor es cuando sea levante que va en dirección oficina.
Smugglers keep finding new hiding places. That's why they've been using a truck-sized scanner at Algeciras for years. It lets them scan the vehicle itself as well as the container. But nothing is happening today. It's late January. Operating the scanner in winter storms is too dangerous. Suspicious cargo will have to wait.
Hasta que pase escane. Que no siguen, por ejemplo, si hay un contenedor de transbordo, no puede embarcar. Si tiene que pasar escane, hasta que no pase escane, no puede seguir su trayecto. Algunos, mira este por ejemplo. Los troncos, estos son unos troncos de madera, como se puede apreciar en los troncos en la parte superior, ¿vale? Se ve, veis aquí que veis como unos cuadrados, vale, pues era cocaína.
The weather isn't just a problem for customs investigators. Rough seas are dangerous for drug couriers who use open boats. Even smuggling stops then. Lizardo Capote's operational unit has targeted a suspicious container.
Buenos días. Buenos días. ¿Ya está colocado? ¿Ya está colocado el contenedor?
This time, it's a shipment of bananas from Colombia.
Y después, cuando sea de plátano, los plátanos pensad siempre lo mismo. Los plátanos los traen aquí siempre con baja maduración. ¿Por qué? Porque tienen que comercializarlo. O sea, tienen que llegar muy verdecitos para que dé tiempo a que llegue madurado ya para el cliente final. Entonces, si os encontráis cajas en los que están ya madurados los plátanos, eso no tiene sentido comercial. Pues esos plátanos ya, seguramente cuando lleguen al detallista, están perdidos. Entonces, lo que tenéis que hacer es, esos contenedores en especial, mirarlos bien. ¿Por qué? Porque la cocaína produce calor, lo que es el propio plástico, el propio envoltura, cambia la temperatura del contenedor y hace que madure antes el plátano. Porque toda la atmósfera controlada que le ponen es para que el plátano se quede verde, ¿vale?
Before investigators can open a container, there must be clear evidence. A computer system flags suspicious combinations of certain goods, countries of origin, or companies. They don't have much time for checks. In summer, temperatures here can reach up to 45 degrees. If the cold chain is interrupted for too long, perishable food products can spoil quickly.
Hay que mirar caja por caja y luego a mí me gusta también mirar un poquito del cartón. Todo ahí introduciendo y ver que cada caja no tenga nada. Hay miles de diferentes modus operandi. Tenemos que estar muy atentos si viene en los palés, en las mismas cajas de cartón, si viene dentro de la fruta, si viene fuera de la fruta. Pero esto es bastante usual y bastante normal. Suele venir los paquetes dentro de la propia caja.
This is the Customs Operations Manager. Today's container check reveals nothing unusual, but often it's a completely different story. In this 2023 seizure, over 9 tons of cocaine were hidden in banana crates. Most cocaine still arrives in Europe in containers, but lately, remarkably little has been found at some ports. Investigators suspect traffickers are changing tactics. Fishing boats or smaller sailing boats have long been used. They're not so easy to monitor. Investigators need to change tack too. Here in Portugal, investigators from all over Europe are planning joint operations to combat drug smuggling. At this operations center, analysts monitor shipping traffic in the Atlantic. In some cases, it's the team that detects unusual movement patterns. In others, investigators from other countries pass on tips about suspicious vessels.
The volumes being shipped at the moment across the Atlantic have increased in terms of the quantities per movement. 9 years ago, we were talking about a huge seizure of 200, 500 kilos of cocaine. At the moment, we have several seizures already of 10 tons in one single vessel.
ARTE Re works for MAOC, the Maritime Analysis and Operations Center, Narcotics. More than 10 countries exchange information on planned cocaine shipments through MAOC. From here, authorities from multiple countries coordinate joint operations. ARTE Re is part of MAOC's analyst team. She and her colleagues work closely with liaison officers from the member states.
On a daily basis, these liaison officers are here at the center, receiving and sending intelligence from their back offices to the center. And on a weekly basis, besides this exchange, all the liaison officers, together with the team of analysts, the head of operations and the director, we gather here to discuss the current cases, the latest cases, and normally the ones that will need or are in the process of an operational plan for an interdiction, to discuss the best strategy, of course, always in close coordination with the teams from the investigators in the related countries.
The key information for this operation came from MAOC. In November 2025, special forces from the Portuguese Navy boarded 2 fishing boats. The Air Force also provided support. The CID led the operation. Nearly 1,000 kilometers off mainland Portugal, investigators seized 7 tons of cocaine.
If you think geographically, the idea was to cover the entry way to Europe, because the countries felt that, of course, we didn't have all the area covered, and from an intelligence and operational perspective, it also made sense.
The MAOC is financed by EU funds and by the member states. Partner countries like the USA provide important information. In Algeciras, customs investigators are driving along the coast.
Mira, vamos a salir por la de Algeciras, Alfa 1 y Alfa 2. Somos 3 funcionarios en total.
On their way to a viewpoint, they notice a suspicious-looking car.
La has visto ahí acelerando, ahí suena un poco raro. En esta zona son sospechosos ese tipo de vehículos modificados, con muchos caballos. Cuando ha acelerado ha sonado mucho y me ha parecido sospechoso, pero cuando hemos pasado cerca le he conocido, yo sé quién es ese chico.
As well as monitoring what happens on land, investigators also patrol the bay and the strait.
Aquí yo me fijaría en un aguaje. Aguaje es un rastro que deja una embarcación muy rápida. Ahora mismo los barcos están bastante parados y si yo veo una embarcación muy rápida entrando, eso sería muy sospechoso.
The wakes are left by high-powered speedboats. Besides cargo ships, they're a transport mode for large drug shipments to Europe.
Lo que vemos desde allí es Ceuta y todo eso para allí es Marruecos, ya es África. Solo son 12-13 kilómetros. Por la noche una narcolancha lo puede cruzar en 4 minutos.
In recent years, there's been a rise in so-called drop-offs.
Marruecos es el principal productor mundial de hachís. Y el 80%, 80 o 90% del hachís que entra en Europa entra por aquí, por esta bahía y por Algeciras. Entonces estamos ya observando que vienen las narcolanchas en vez de con hachís, con cocaína, y para ello les da mucho más dinero. Eso ha sido un cambio muy grande desde hace 1 o 2 años. La recogen de mercantes. Ellos en alta mar hacen un trasvase de mercancía con la narcolancha o la dejan caer al mar balizada, la narcolancha la recoge y la trae para Huelva, para Cádiz, para esta zona.
High-powered speedboats have been an issue in southern Spain for years, and they still haven't found a solution.
Y esta embarcación es lo que les ha permitido a ellos marcar la diferencia en el agua. ¿Por qué? Porque esta embarcación, estamos hablando de una embarcación de normalmente 12 metros de eslora.
These boats can transport several tons of drugs at once. With up to 900 horsepower, they're extremely fast and hard to stop. They've transported hashish for years, and now the business is expanding.
El 3% del comercio mundial pasa por el estrecho. Dice, bueno, pues yo tengo la droga, la pongo en un barco, el barco va a pasar por el estrecho, las hemorroidas que están en el agua permanentemente, yo les paso la cocaína y la lían. Más dinero para ti, más dinero para mí.
With speedboats, they can bypass ports and coastlines and instead head directly for rivers that lead inland.
Esto es cuando no estaba la barrera esa.
Esta barrera se puso ya hace bastantes años porque no dejaban de pasar las narcolanchas por este río. Había veces que 7, 8, 9 veces la misma noche y el Estado tuvo la solución de poner esto para cortar eso. Fue una buena solución. Ahora nos enfrentamos a cosas más modernas como el tema de drones. Por ejemplo, los drones están avanzando mucho y ahora estamos teniendo noticias de drones que sobrevuelan el campo de Gibraltar y que no son nuestros. Son o de vigilancia o que están llevando droga a pequeña escala. También sospechamos que pueda haber algún submarino en esta zona del estrecho. Hemos encontrado ya en Galicia muchos y estamos sospechando eso. Y el narcotráfico tiende un poquito a esas nuevas tecnologías, de las que tenemos que estar muy pendientes de todo eso. Pero como siempre parece que los narcos y los malos están un paso por delante de nosotros. Tienen muchísimo más dinero que nosotros. No tienen más inteligencia, tienen más dinero. Por eso pueden comprar los mejores drones, las mejores tecnologías de vigilancia de comunicaciones.
The Guadalquivir is the largest river in the region, a sprawling delta that flows into the Atlantic. No barriers were built here. Every branch of the river can be used as a drug route. Law enforcement has been in pursuit of drug couriers for years. Authorities use helicopters as well as boats to patrol the river. Instead of drugs, some speedboats carry fuel cans to refuel boats that sometimes remain at sea for weeks at a time. Instead of stopping the speedboats, customs investigators have recently focused on prolonged pursuits. Eventually, they say, the couriers will run out of fuel, or their engines will overheat.
Mira, 36 grados 02 norte, repito, 36 grados 02 norte y 005 12 oeste.
Vale, entiendo que no sabemos qué tipo de embarcación hay por la zona, ¿no? No sabemos qué es lo que están marcando.
Dile que nosotros no somos, es lo que quiere saber.
Correcto, simplemente me han llamado para preguntar si somos nosotros, que no lo indiquen y era para descartar que fuéramos nosotros.
Vale, pues dile que nosotros no somos.
Vale. Bien, recibido. Estamos chequeando a ver qué zona está para darnos una vueltecilla si nos pilla por aquí cerca. He dicho que no somos nosotros. Está en el centro del dispositivo.
Vale, voy a bajar para abajo, ¿vale? A ver, chicos, un momentito.
In the middle of the strait, in the middle from of Gibraltar and Ceuta, is the surveillance system cameras told us that it is possible to be a pleasure boat, a small pleasure boat, but it's navigated now without lights, I would think, and so we have to check. Una recreativa, ¿eh? No un pesquero, una recreativa. La tenemos por la letra de estribor, va navegando.
Estamos ahora mismo en su popa.
Bueno, dale caña que tú eres diplomático para estas cosas.
Buenas noches. Aduana. ¿De dónde venimos? ¿Sí? A nosotros no. Vale. Vale. ¿El propietario va en la embarcación? Vale.
Yo creo que es buena pinta, ¿no?
Sí, listo.
No quiere visita, ¿no?
No.
Vale.
Nada, buenas noches, pueden seguir.
Adelante, 02 para 19.
Mira, hemos localizado la embarcación, le hemos hecho un reconocimiento rutinario y era una recreativa de pesca deportiva, para informarte simplemente.
Vale, ok, ya te digo que es para de la bahía, ¿sabes?
Besides smuggling on fishing or sailing boats, the MAOC in Lisbon is also seeing completely new methods developing.
We have been seeing in the last few years a number of changes in the modalities that the criminal organizations use. Some of them are just adjustments of what they were already using, but with a few different features, and others are completely new, like, for example, the semi-submersibles. I remember listening years ago from the different authorities, from the liaison officers here and our visitors, that the investigators on the ground heard already for a number of occasions that some criminal organizations were being able to send SPSSs across the Atlantic to Europe. They were already a reality in the Caribbean and the Pacific for a number of years.
Investigators long considered it impossible for these semi-submersibles to cross the Atlantic. That changed in November 2019.
We first came across the case where we initially were looking or thought we were looking into maybe a sailing vessel or a fishing vessel crossing the Atlantic, until during the live phase of the operation, something clicked and we all thought, what if we are looking into something different? The countries providing the intelligence and developing the intelligence were not the ones actually deploying the maritime assets. So the Portuguese authorities were initially asked to deploy a naval asset to do the interdiction. And when I say that there was that click moment, what if, during the night when the Portuguese Navy was on site looking for the target, they were receiving information about where to go to. They were on the site and they said there must be something wrong, because if we are at the place where you've told us to be, then there's nothing here. And I remember that moment when here and of course in the back offices of the different authorities involved that night, somebody said, what if it's not a sailing vessel? What if it's not a fishing vessel? Because on one side we are sure about the intelligence, on the other side we are sure about the location of the assets. So if both are correct, then we are just looking at this from the wrong perspective.
The alliance between MAOC and the investigative authorities has since detected 5 more submersibles off Europe's coast. All were carrying more than 1,000 kilograms of cocaine. In January 2026, special forces from the Portuguese Navy struck again. They intercepted a semi-submersible approximately 400 kilometers off the Azores. The head of the naval unit explains what these operations involve.
The operators, when they enter an SPS, we try to maintain the big mind of focus that is the element of surprise. Element of surprise, of course, comes with intelligence, comes with the way how we conduct our operations, the preparations, rehearsals. What is changing? It's the way how, of course, the things are development, the technology. Now we are talking about the SPS, but we don't know in the future we're talking about underwater drones, and we have to adapt to the reality.
Espeta, Mike.
Pede confirmação para o início da carga.
Logo que possam, podem iniciar a subida.
The Portuguese CID investigated the seizures on the high seas. They keep the drugs in a safe until they are destroyed.
Tu vais ficar no meio das 2 viaturas, que é para cobrir os 180 daquela viatura. Tá?
7 tons of drugs are being loaded, including 1.5 tons of cocaine.
Bora, cavalar!
Its estimated street value is 90 million euros. Officers are called out once a month to destroy the drugs.
Fecha. Atenção, chamada de guia, logo possível, a coluna totalmente à esquerda. Coluna totalmente à esquerda. Atenção, a coluna vai passar a moto da GNR. Fecha atrás, fecha atrás.
The waste incineration plant is the final stop for the cocaine. In 2025, 25 tons of cocaine were seized in Portugal. All bar 1 arrived by sea. Portuguese authorities have discovered 3 submersibles in the last 12 months alone. Investigators believe their cargo was intended to be transported to the Iberian Peninsula by speedboat. The cat and mouse game in the Atlantic continues.